Do not forget. Expect us.
This is a message to all supporters, a message to all freedom fighters, to all dissenters, to all forgotten, a call to all intellectuals, to all journalists, a call to all freethinkers, a call for intelligence. This is a call to all poets, a call to the strong and the weak, a call to all young people, to the wise, to the astucious. We want you to join us. We are on the streets of Tokyo, in the skyscrapers of New York, in the lanes of Paris, in the cellars of Munich, on Moscow's icy places, on the cobbled streets of Dublin. This is a call to all people, to the youth. Join us in the fight for freedom of information. Search for us, and you will find us. We are among you. We are you. Everyone you speak with can be a member of Anonymous. We have no leaders, only an orientation. We have no targets, only results. You cannot stop us because we are an idea. We cannot be eliminated because we are invisible. If you try to mock us, we will mock ourselves. If you try to slander us, we will accept the defamation. We are the king's jesters with daggers. We are the dancing bear which tears to pieces the laughing mob. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us, just as we expect you.
Councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
And we're live.
Set yourself big city.
Okay.
Who is?
We're live. I don't know, man. This isn't even real.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really. Uh, I don't want to get
Oh,
to the cute shit to start off. Let's get on with popular, popular
popular, the
topic.
Myanmar crisis right now, and yeah.
Yeah.
And the doctor of
Yeah.
Navalny died today. Was either murdered or just died.
Oh,
Who?
shit, really?
Yeah, well, this just popped in like 3 hours ago that the doctor who treated Navalny when he was poisoned by the Russian, assumed by the Russian gov, was died mysteriously.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
Jesus.
Mysterious death. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
He was 55, so yeah, and it was a doctor and he was 55. So.
Yeah, I just got a really good question.
What?
Did he know the Clintons?
No,
He,
probably not.
he knew Putin.
I had to ask, man.
Okay. Yeah, so what's going on in Myanmar? My knowledge on Myanmar is somewhat limited. A lot of it was revolving around the when the Rohingya genocide. At least when I started hearing about it, was like maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, and I remember that lady, and I was really unsure if she was the president. But I know that whatever. Anyway, she was thrown in jail about 2 days ago, along with some other people, and I know they have two parties. They have like a Democratic Party, and then they have a military party, and there was like some other party I've never even heard of. And the whatever, I guess she was voted in, I guess, as like a president, and then the military said that the votes were fake, so they arrested her and threw her in jail. But like, here's like the weird thing is like, she was president when the genocide was happening, and the military were doing the genocide, and she wasn't exactly stopping it either. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Can you
Well,
hear me?
no, I'm weak on the Myanmar myself. What I noticed is that it's like troops in the street, similar to our own capital. I think we got there different ways, but I don't think we should be pointing fingers at them either necessarily. But I need to find out more.
No, that's been when I've been kind of standoffish on the whole thing, but every time she's questioned about the Rohingya, she has like a common statement is that she's not entirely in charge of what exactly is going on over there. But it's like it's a genocide of a group of people that's been going on for quite a while, and that didn't seem to stop. And I don't know, somebody from Myanmar hit me up on Twitter saying that they want their, so I just RT'd it, that they want their democracy back, and they don't want to be under military rule. And correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
It's a communist country, correct?
technically, but why the West is not stepping in? Why no one is stepping in? It's got huge resources and there's a lot of trade going on, and because of this is opinion, right? And because of the horrible conditions there, resources are cheap to buy for us. So, the same.
Yeah, I remember doing some investigation on Burma, and they were like, uh, I think they were like the one of the major producers of like um amphetamine tablets. Like, um, other than that, I mean, I really don't know what else they produce, but
Yeah, let me open everything up. I just made some posts to share it around, right? So I have to open up everything from Myanmar. Got a lot of requests from Anons to share about it. It's all in local languages and things. So.
yeah, yeah, their I think their language is called, I think it's called Burmese. It's like almost, I don't know. It's a very odd language.
I'm sure a lot of people think that about English too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably true too. Yeah, yeah.
So if you wanna, if you're listening and you want to learn more about Myanmar, there are these hashtags called Save Myanmar. What is happening in Myanmar, and also there is Reject the Military. So one specific one too.
Yeah, but
But
I think that was the main reason why they locked up their president was because they thought that the votes were fraudulent.
yeah.
I know that they shut down the internet for a while too when everything went down.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
almost like a mirror, or kind of a shadow of what we are in a different
Kinda.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the local army claims that that it's fighting Rohingya militants, and they still deny targeting civilians. And yeah, that leader.
I saw the pictures of what they did to the Rohingya. They were cutting them up with machetes and putting them up on the walls.
Yeah,
Little kids, women, children. It didn't matter. If you were Rohingya, you were a target, and these were not militants. These were little kids and babies that they were killing. You know.
yeah. So in this article, but it's from early 2020, it says at least like 730 children under the age of 5 were killed in the first month the violence broke out. But these are like official numbers, right? And then many people aren't even registered. And the Myanmar military also rapes and abuses Rohingya women and girls. The government itself puts the number of dead at 400. So
It's
yeah,
yeah. It's probably more than that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and this is from 2017, so that shows like all these little dots, and it says like 288 villages destroyed, like complete villages destroyed, right? On this
Yeah.
list, there are still about 500 intact, but so that is like over a third of all villages destroyed. Yeah,
Well, this goes back to like the clash of religions in a way. You know, in the south of Thailand, you have Muslim incursions into some of their southern provinces. And I think that's the same thing that goes on here. Hindus versus Muslims.
Well, yeah, yeah. The most of the Rohingya are predominantly Muslims, so.
yeah,
India's going through something similar. I mean, they're in Indian nationalism becoming much the same way. It's like, and they're much closer to it. Also, yeah, hundreds of Muslims, a bigger problem.
yeah.
Pakistan and all, but that's the general clash that's going on.
And so what you can say is that Islam is a very masculine religion, in that sense that it is a dominant style of religion, and that means that yeah, it wants to have as many people following it as possible, and that it accepts like pure Islam accepts only like the Sharia law as the highest law of God, right? And so to be like in favor or against that, yeah, governments like the Chinese doing against Uyghurs or Myanmar government, they consider that a threat to their rule, right? Which is arguably an even more oppressive rule that they have, right? So they attack everyone who has that religion. It's like, yeah, they consider this just like a threat to their establishment, so to speak.
Well, yeah. The Uyghurs are in Golan Heights. There's been clashes over there with all that going on as well, mainly from the Israeli state.
Yeah.
I guess the Israeli state wanted them to be citizens of Israel, and I guess they wanted to remain independent, which they have the right to, but Israel kind of had a problem with it. I wasn't sure what the outcome of it actually was. So
Like Netanyahu's, pushing in more settlements. That's here recent too. I mean, and it was right because they were covering the election and all. It's been going off while nobody's looking.
So Vanessa Beeley's done some incredible reporting on this, and I'll be able to talk to her on Sunday. But if you go to thewallwillfall.com, there's some really good articles up about Israel's ramped up military presence in Syria under the cover of basically U.S. election chaos and everything that has ensued in the month of January. And they're on an extended campaign of torture that starts at their doorstep and extends as far as anyone will let them reach in the region, essentially.
well, I have heard about a lot of that. I do know that there was some of the attacks, at least the ones I know, where the Israeli had targeted what they thought were weapon depots from Hamas that were in Syria, but the other ones I don't know about. I didn't know about the other part about them ramping up on the border.
Yeah, and the weapons depots, quote unquote, that they hit were also within shelling distance of civilian homes and a school and a church and a hospital. Yeah, it's actually fairly heartbreaking. If you go on Vanessa Beeley's Twitter from like last week, she's got video of like a 9 or 10-year-old Syrian kid who was born blind, who was sleeping when the wall of his house exploded inward from an Israeli rocket. And he's singing, and it's like a lullaby. It's one of the most gut-wrenching things. And you're like, fuck, dude, it makes me just want to go there and, I don't know, just put myself in front of it. It's wild. It is.
Okay. Okay, so we started a bit about the Myanmar thing. Maybe we switch to another subject and we continue about Myanmar later on. I was personally shocked with the fact that Navalny's doctor died today. 3 hours or 4 hours ago, it hit the news. He was 55 years old, suddenly died. It was the doctor who treated him against poisoning.
Same week that he was sentenced to 3.5 years too.
Yeah.
Let's not leave that out. Like, come on. Like, that's a ridiculous coincidence. As I said earlier, like, has he had any run-ins with the Clintons lately? Because, I mean...
Yeah, well, okay, so...
coincidental deaths, man, like...
This was pure... this is clear poisoning, or he's murdered? This is what I'm saying about this is my personal opinion, but this guy is murdered because suddenly, out of nowhere, his heart rate went up huge, and they tried to stop it, all these doctors. And, suddenly had a heart attack. There's something...
That could be poison. It could be the electronic weapons that they have. But like all governments by now, they all have frequency-based weapons where they can tune into your heart frequency and kind of fuck with your heart or fuck with your organs. I mean, people don't believe that these things exist, but they do. And by now, I mean, they have the technology. It's all over the place from government to government. You know, it's not just the U.S. government. It's also the Russian government, the Chinese government. I doubt like other less advanced countries, but I mean, they have this type of technology where they can literally mess with your frequency of your heart and basically cause it to stop or make it beat faster. I mean, they can do all types of shit.
You know what these guys will try, right? They're going to try, like everyone who knows a bit about the Navalny, they will take care of all of those guys.
Well, because they were claiming that he poisoned himself on the plane by taking tablets. You know, I think they're trying to get rid of the evidence. Personally, me knowing a lot about medical stuff, it's if his heart wasn't going to stop, for me that would be leading more towards a poison, or possibly an overdose of certain stimulants or even nightshade derivatives.
He was a doctor, right? So for him to overdose himself, that seems a little far-fetched for him to overdose himself. But
being a doctor. The thing is, like I said, you don't even need to have those poisons anymore. You can just mess around with a direct energy weapon and do it that way. So you know, it could be poison, but I mean, in this day and age, 2021, by now, they do have those types of weapons. And it's scary to think that they can just point at one of those types of weapons at somebody and turn off their organs like that.
It seems the poisoning. It seems so cartoonish, and it seems like only Americans would believe that Vladimir Putin used a 1970s era KGB poison and failed at it.
Yeah.
In order to take out a political rival. Like, it's just so cheesy.
Yeah, that's fair. But there is a thing like you launch this. Okay, so you're right about that. That he would fail at it. That is the weird thing. But on the other hand, it is a way to scare people.
Well, you do remember
scare him into submission.
You do remember when the Russian state wanted to take out a spy. So they gave two of their spies radiated metal, and then they gave it to the other spy who was their target. But the guys who got the radiated material didn't know that they were going to die as well. And the thing was, it was like I believe it was like shards, like a tiny bit of like plutonium, like a few specks, and this was like maybe like 20 years ago. Am I right? You remember hearing about that story?
I was about to ask, when was that? Because, like, here's the thing. Obviously, these governments are not going to admit that they have this type of technology where they can mess with people's organs using frequency and, you know, do worse. I mean, they could literally fry somebody's organs inside their body by using direct energy weapons and kind of like radiating their organs inside their own body. With frequency, but I mean, like, they're not going to admit that they have that, so they would point to some type of poison or something like that, because, you know, he was poisoned. Okay, well, that's a lot better than saying that he had his organs fucked with. I mean, like, but that's like 20 years ago, right? So, I mean, you got to think. Along that time period, things have advanced, and they also have untraceable poisons as well. So why would they use poison that's traceable when they can use untraceable poisons? I forget the untraceable poisons off the top of my head, but there's a ton of them.
But that was kind of like my second point about using stimulants, because if they do his blood tests and they find out that he has high doses of a stereoisomer or DL-amphetamine or any derivative of, they're just going to say he had a drug overdose. He did it to himself.
Right.
I mean, what's the best way to kill a heroin addict? overdose him with heroin, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's different though when you're dealing with a government because they have all sorts of various different techniques and toys. Like for instance, the CIA has the heart attack gun. Everybody said that was a conspiracy theory until it came out in the Churchill. It came out in the Churchill fucking hearings, and they talked about the gun and they showed the gun and everything. They said it was basically a dart gun. It's a ice dart that goes inside your body and then it poisons you with untraceable poison. And I mean, if they had that back in the 80s? I mean, like, was it 60s?
Oh, the ice. Yeah, that was the 60s or sometime around there.
When was the church here? I thought church was in the 80s.
The church committee was like in the 70s. I want to say around 74.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, so it was the 70s. So if they had that back then, I mean, just think of what they have now. And
That's
I mean,
the thing is, with toxicology, really nothing, unless it's like a noble gas, like nothing is untraceable. Really?
no, that's not true. There's untraceable. You can look it up, Tyler. Just look up untraceable poisons with a VPN on, because obviously that would like trigger. That would trigger like fucking all these like NSA stuff and everything. They'd be watching you, and then have the door kicked in. Oh, why are you looking up untraceable poisons? You're gonna kill somebody?
Okay, well,
But I'm not even Russian.
about Russia and the U.S. Like, it is weird that U.S. Citizens believe there is really this difference between the U.S. and Russia, that they're not partners behind the scenes, right? Because the arrest warrant for Julian Assange was made by Interpol in 2010, and both Russia and the U.S. are core members of Interpol, and they asked for his arrest. And now, to give a third-party perspective on the poisoning, when Josip Broz Tito was in power in Yugoslavia, it was a third-party communist leader, so to speak. He was no friend of Russia, and he was no friend of the USA. And in fact, the USA tried to kill him 28 times, and Stalin and Russia tried to kill him 61 times, right? Both the US and Russia were trying to kill him and to get rid of him. And that only stopped after Tito wrote a letter to Russia and says, the next time you send a killer to me, I'm sending one of my own to you, and he will be successful the first attempt. And that's when Russia stopped sending killers to take out Tito. So this is the third party, right? And so when a real adversary arrives, suddenly these two countries aren't such enemies at all. Suddenly. So just talking about geopolitics, the Cold War era, where they were supposedly fighting each other, and the Americans were all scared of the red danger, and the Russians were all scared of the American danger. And this only funded a huge buildup of the military, huge technological advancements. Both sides wanted. Both sides wanted to get to the moon, and that is what funded this supposed Cold War. And also, during the Cold War, the oil and the gas never stopped flowing into Europe, and so literally, without that gas, not a NATO tank or a NATO plane would have ever been able to even participate in war. They would be driving or flying on Russian oil. So,
right.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense from a geopolitical perspective. But that's the things normal people don't get to hear, of course. But if you look at it, yeah, it benefits supposed proxy wars benefit both sides. Yeah.
Yeah, in multiple different ways. And I saw this headline, and since you mentioned Julian, right? And you say how the Russians and the U.S. are no different. I mean, here's a great example. I mean, desperate Putin resorts to jailing journalists for retweeting jokes. So, here's the Russians going after journalists and journalism as well. Like after they condemn what the U.S. is doing to Julian. and it's basically like, what's that word? It's like oppositional. Basically, it's being used in a way because it fits their agenda. You know what I mean?
You mean like
I don't know. You lagged really bad.
Huh?
Yeah, you're lagging really bad, Steve.
I'll be back in a sec.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, well, that is pretty much like that's like the perspective I want to give, because every time you talk about Russia doing something, they're going to say like, "Oh, are you guys supporting some CIA guy?" And every time something is said about America, they're going to say like, "Ah, this is Russian infiltrators or Russians influencing our elections." It is
And Ruski.
that is all bullshit. They're the same team. There's like, look at look at Interpol. They have like 96 members. Russia and the US are core members. So if you affiliate with Russian media or Russian intelligence, you're affiliating with the CIA. That's pretty much it. They're the same people. I can tell you that they meet like yearly in our country even, and it's only the normal people who believe like the people who watch too much TV, I think, who believe that there's really a difference. Like there is no difference. That there was a difference in the 1950s perhaps, but already in the 1940s they started making an alliance to take over to divide Europe between each other when they were taking on the Nazis, right? And there was a division. There was an open divide made. Like the West got West Germany and the East got East Germany. And in East Germany, there was Putin sitting in the KGB headquarters, running the snitch groups, who then transported people towards gulags. And and then on the other side, we had France, Britain, and the USA running things in Germany, but they weren't fighting each other. They had a division, and it was just an agreement. And they have direct lines between the presidential offices too. I mean, there's no big secret.
The way that I've understood it, and I hope that I'm coming in better now, was that Putin was part of a pro-Western faction within the KGB, and that's why he wound up being Yeltsin's second in command when the U.S. basically interfered with the democratic elections of Russia in 96, I think. I think it was 96, 94 or 96. But Putin has basically been in a position of more or less power within the state of Russia since it became a state, since it became the Russian Federation.
Yeah, of course. And Putin became like a billionaire over the trade, right, with the West. So, I mean, the oil has to go somewhere. The oligarchs he elected the oligarchs. So yeah, there are other oligarchs who weren't participating in these schemes, were pushed away, openly fired.
Sleepy Josh would be yelling at me for dead air right now.
Yeah.
Would be. I tried to get Sleepy Josh to join me tonight, and he said, "Fuck those guys. They can all kiss the brownest part of my ass." I don't know. You might. I can't get Josh to come on one of these, man. I'm working on it though. We'll make it happen. We will.
Yeah, he'll be on soon. of course. We're working on some things too, right? I mean, yeah.
Let me see if I can talk about some popular.
Here's
Like,
go ahead. I was going to say Putin fears. He said that he fears a Gaddafi-style end. I've got lots of topics tonight. There's a bunch of shit going on.
yeah, we got the Wall Street bets thing still going on.
No, I think it came to an end. Actually, I haven't. I saw the guy said I just lost $13 million, and he said that he was done.
Oh, I didn't see that. I saw a guy from Barstool. He's still not ending the whole shit. He wants to keep that shit going.
Oh, but David Pinoy. I mean, like, he's just an opportunist, man. That's the way I see it. I mean, he does do some good work. I'm not going to knock him for that, but he is an opportunist. He just jumps on things. I mean, he jumped on Bitcoin. He jumped on Link. He just jumps on things. So I don't really take that too much. What do you guys think about Jeff Bezos stepping down for a CEO that has previously discussed cryptocurrency? And also, the CEO is also known as the guy who destroyed free speech online.
Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, that was a weird shit. Like, okay, when he was told to step down in Q3 as a CEO, and he's just going to be like an oversight committee. It's a really weird how it's going to go down, because Jeff Bezos wants to start. I know they've been trying to do it for a while, but they want to get the Amazon into space, and they've actually built a few things, but I don't think any's really gone anywhere since then. So he wants to do like a whole Elon Musk thing and try and get that going. But like
Biden,
after the news, the day he said he was stepping down in Q3, they lost a $65 million lawsuit where they found out that they were stealing Amazon drivers' tips for years, and they weren't giving them to them. And then they were shutting down and I think in Chicago they were shutting down one of the centers, and now they're making workers work a mandatory. They're not making them. They have the option of going to these mega centers where they call them like they only have 10-hour shifts, and if they don't go to this other place, they don't have a fucking job. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say Biden just basically canceled Elon's space adventures that he wanted to have, and said he said that the U.S. will remain grounded for the next couple of years, which doesn't make sense, because we were prior to Biden, we were in a space race with China. So, is Biden just now?
Does he control the FAA though?
Sold out, man. He's sold out. That's the problem. He didn't even know what he's doing. He caught a clip of him the other day. He was signing executive orders. He's like, I don't even know what I'm signing, and then he goes and signs it anyway. I mean, the guy's nuts.
But a lot of Elon's rockets have no. I mean, yeah, there's some of them have government, pay in there, but a lot of it's not. A lot of it's private.
Yeah, but he can control that. I mean, he can control it and say that, the private companies aren't allowed to go to space. I mean, that's the news that's going on right now, is that Biden basically canceled Elon's space ambitions. Now, again, I mean, it's very interesting because of the space war with China, or space race, not war, but space race with China that we were in.
We need we need the space race right now because there's helium-3 on the moon, and you can't make that. There's almost no helium-3 on Earth. We need that for nuclear
They've
fission.
been mining that shit for years. Come on, man. Like,
What?
Yeah, let's be honest. I mean, those space probes that they're sending up, what do you think that they're doing? They're mining asteroids and they're mining the moon. That's what they've been doing.
Well, yeah, we need helium-3.
They set up, what is it? X-37? I think it's B. X-37B spacecrafts that they've been sending up. Those are bringing back payloads. What do you think the payloads are full of? It has to be mining materials. There's nothing else up there unless they found alien life, and they're testing alien life. I mean, like, I don't know what else it would be. And I mean, like I said before, like a long fucking time ago, I told you, like, I had a former Air Force guy who was said that he was on a base on the moon and said that he saw like space fish in space, and he said he was mining the moon, and this was like in the 80s that he said that was active. So I mean, like, they've been mining the moon for a long fucking time, and they've even like announced like privatized mining corporations and stuff like that in the past as well. So yeah, they've been mining the moon for a long fucking time.
Yeah, they named all companies.
Yeah. You're lagging really bad.
Biden shutting down
Mark, where's the server?
Let me see.
That is, we're losing connections.
I'm just fine.
Yeah. No,
1 second.
this server's like in Europe or something, I swear.
No, U.S. Central, it says.
Oh.
Let me switch it to another U.S. server for you guys.
Maybe it's just, storm. It's because of the storm, I think. It's just bad. Yeah, it could be just bad routing because there's a storm on the East Coast. So if there's a storm on the East Coast, it's probably bad routing. It's probably routing differently.
Yeah, as I correct me if I'm wrong, but there's another launch scheduled on the 7th.
For
SpaceX.
Well, the SpaceX is primarily surveillance, complete total digital mapping of the planet and real-time surveillance going forward, like of every square inch of Earth.
I've been watching the SpaceX rockets go up at 1 or 2 a week for the last few years. I can watch them from my backyard. You can just watch them. I mean, that's the biggest spy campaign in the world. Every electronic device in the world, once they get that network up there, will be controlled by that Starlink. And they're not going to stop shooting them rockets up. I'll guarantee you.
Yeah, they said Starlink 39A.
Yeah.
Where's this one being launched? I think Jacksonville? No,
Cape Canaveral, probably.
Cape Canaveral, yeah.
And people talk about Elon
far
like
from
he's
me.
the good billionaire. Like Elon Musk is somehow our friend or something like that. And he's talking about, yeah, I think we should put chips in brains. I think that you should connect your consciousness to the cloud. That is not going to benefit you and me.
I can spot
Yeah.
10 infosec problems with that.
Oh yeah. You remember the recent hack of chastity belts? Oh
Yeah,
my
I
God,
heard about
man.
that where a guy got his dick stuck.
A cage. Yeah.
He made a
Yeah, you gotta-
Bitcoin and they didn't even get it back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Bitcoin ransom for your dick. I mean, like,
Well,
Oh,
problems with the pacemakers having Bluetooth connections. I mean, I'm just saying that, like, if you were a high priority target, I mean, and you could connect to somebody's pacemaker via Bluetooth. I mean, that could be another way to like assassinate somebody. I'm just saying, like, the same thing could go for an implant in your brain.
Yeah, wasn't that what Barnaby Jack like found before he ended up dead? I'm pretty sure years ago, the hacker Barnaby Jack, he like discovered essentially that you could hack a pacemaker, and like it all of a sudden like he died. I thought it was interesting that the way that whole situation happened. You know, I don't know if he was killed or not, but I think it was weird that he discovered one of the most dangerous vulnerabilities possible when Dick Cheney, I believe it was Dick Cheney, he had all these pacemakers and everything. I mean, if somebody had that information on how to hack a pacemaker, they could easily kill Dick Cheney and anybody else who uses a pacemaker. So I think it was very interesting. I don't know if you remember that or not, Mark, but years ago, Barnaby Jack.
No.
Yeah, it was at DEF CON. He was getting ready to present how to hack a pacemaker at DEF CON, and he never made it there, and he was found dead in his apartment or a hotel room. I forget where, but yeah, it was very interesting. And I think they said he like drug overdosed or something, which I mean, I guess it's possible, but it was just interesting timing, and the fact that he was getting ready to present that was a little weird to me.
Sorry, I was a little distracted.
Yeah, no, me too. I just Ford Fisher just got his YouTube channel remonetized, which is really interesting because the reason they took it down from the first place, is because they said he was showing harmful content that didn't provide the right context, proper context. And if you guys aren't familiar with Ford or his work, what he does is just uploads raw video. That's it. Occasionally he will interview someone, but he lets them do most of the talking. But more often than not, he doesn't do anything. He just shoots. And so YouTube, did you see the email that YouTube sent Ford?
No, but I mean, he must have gotten a lawyer to talk to YouTube to get that back, because I mean that's just ridiculous. It's like
100%.
My work has no value. What the fuck do you mean?
What's particularly nefarious, and what I can't believe they really just came out and said, what was in their email, they said you did not provide the right context for this information that just appears to show whatever it is that Ford was showing. And this was specifically footage that he had shot on January 6th. That was the harmful content. They removed it because he didn't give the proper context. So YouTube is saying that according to YouTube or their advertisers, or both, there's a context that is allowable now on their platform. And if you provide your commentary within the allowable context, not only can you keep your channel, but you can keep making money there. But if not, you are not allowed to be a part of the media on their network, on their platform.
I mean, it's insane, man. Like, it's insane that they can even say that. Like, number one, and then number two, I mean, what do they want him to like commentate on a Trump rally? Like, I'm anti-Trump, and here I am, like recording this. I mean, he would get beat the fuck up. I mean, come on,
Right. Just so everyone's clear, I don't agree with anything that I'm recording. I'm just recording it so that we can all sit around and make fun of it later and say that this is Putin's fault. Okay, don't take away my channel. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's so insane the way that this is going, like with YouTube and all these crazy, like, and I want to know like if that's coming from the top or if it's coming from like some random fucking admin on YouTube who has too much power, you know, like, and that's the issue with all these social media companies is that you don't know who the fuck you're speaking to on the other end and what their politics are, and they just assume your politics and you get banned. Or assume your, I mean, like, it's ridiculous.
I got hit with a context warning on Sunday. Gloria and I did a stream where we covered the World Economic Forum. We covered some of the publicly available panels. We showed their own words. We talked about it a little bit, and that was the show. And we got a context warning that said QAnon. And it was a Wikipedia. It was a Wikipedia paragraph explaining the like the mainstream narrative for what Q is. But it was saying that we were a Q adjacent channel. And if you've paid any attention to my show, you know that over the last 2 years, I've been explaining that this is clearly a psyop, and here's why, and here's what's going on. And so for us to get that, just because we were talking about the Great Reset, which is the title of Klaus Schwab's book, and not something that Steve made up, it just shows you where they're headed with this. And Whitney Webb, less than 3 weeks ago, sat on my show and said any information going forward that the establishment or the oligarchy or whatever you want to call them, deep state, I don't care, whatever your name is for them, doesn't want to get out is going to be labeled as Q nonsense. And less than 3 weeks later, holy fuck, there it is. And then it got thrown on the Convo Couches channel, and they got demonetized, and Nico House got demonetized, and Frank Analysis got demonetized, and a bunch of other like lefty channels got just nuked yesterday.
Well, you know, we've said multiple times on this show, if you open the fucking door for censorship, just because you want to ban the other some other person's voice, whether you agree with them or not, you're opening the door to yourself.
Guys, give an opinion about our response to this, please. I'm reading in the chat about this Ford guy. I don't know much about it, so I'm going to say, I'm just going to repeat it. And it says, Ford is a fucking shill. His work is featured on mainstream American news, and he wants his work to be used as evidence for the FBI.
That's like saying that Rupley is a shill because they show up to places and film and throw the film on their YouTube channel for other people to use or purchase.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as Ford's personal politics go, talk to Ford, you know, but don't take, like, if his footage shows evidence of a crime or his footage shows evidence that will vindicate someone, then sure, he should be like, yeah, why don't you take a look at it? Maybe you should see it. That doesn't mean he's a snitch. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, dude. I've met Ford. I've had a couple of conversations with him.
It's about shutting down.
He seems to be a pretty neutral individual, to be perfectly honest.
Shutting down information. They don't want you to hear anything that's not approved mainstream. You know, as they continue to go down, everybody's ratings over there, you know, suck now. It's just, you know, he's too successful, so we can't have that in America anymore.
Alamo, that is the absolute right point, because all of this censorship is coming on the heels of what was it, Brian Seltzer on CNN saying that independent media as a thing shouldn't exist because, look, there's millions of people that don't watch CNN right now, and they're all getting their news from YouTube and these other places. And Brian Seltzer couches that this is dangerous because they're not getting the information as filtered by the professionals here at CNN.
That's more like it.
But he goes on and he whines about all this shit, and AOC trots out her crocodile tears and fucking throws like legitimate victims of sexual assault under the bus so that she can get cheap censorship points. Fucking gross. And again, right after the huge complaint about everybody abandoning traditional media for independent media. And now all of this just magically happens? I don't think so. I don't.
Well, they already said, YouTube said that they were going to start going after videos that mention the Great Reset as conspiracy, even though it's literally fucking said directly by Davos folks and, you know, all these big elites. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Your chat's wild, bro.
Did you hear that? There goes our channel.
Our chat is yeah, but okay. I want to mention this too, by the way, because I have been reading about this demonetization of these progressive people today, and it's okay. It's sad that it happens. I agree. It's sad. YouTube shouldn't step in and should allow them to monetize whatever. But I just want to say real quick. We were never allowed monetization since the first days.
Never.
Yeah. We don't cry about it. Like, we don't call it deplatformed. No, we are never allowed anything. Like,
we never even wanted. We never made a fucking
right. No, but I mean, there are people that are legit trying to like make a living off of this independent media thing, and the way that you initially reach people, unfortunately, is through YouTube, or at least in the media sandbox that they're trying to play in. So I don't fault them for trying to make a living out of it. I think if you can pay your bills doing what you love, then you are doing heads and shoulders better than like 90% of your fellow man. And while that's a tragedy in and of itself as a statement, you individually can celebrate that you can pay your bills doing what you love.
Look, Steve, like being demonetized is just finally the proof that you're finally no longer a service dweller and you finally hit something that they won't allow you to say, like, because we never expected any monetization. We talk about.
I understand, and I do. I want to send them like a fruit basket for getting their cherries popped. I do.
Yeah, they get their cherries popped. That's pretty much it. And yeah, they find another way, please, guys. Like, find a way to make your money, whatever. This is 2021, you're not going to be uncensored if you're saying anything.
Like, there's this girl, like, when my coworker tells me about her, and then, like, this girl literally makes a living, like, millions of dollars, maybe like $1 million a year, eating lobster on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand that shit. Like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? You know, like.
Well, the thing is, like, if you got into YouTube when it was fresh and brand new, you could have like millions and millions of followers and you could do anything that you want. That's the thing. Like, if you get into some of these new platforms early and they take off, you're going to be one of the most followed accounts or whatever. I mean, like, I think PewDiePie is an exception. I mean, he took off. Well, I mean, he was in pretty early in YouTube too, right?
Yeah, but you do have to take one thing into account, and that is the same as on Twitter. On Twitter, if you are a German, you are compliant with German law. Literally, the law on Twitter is different for Germans than for Americans. I can prove that because they have like literally anti-privacy options with the reporting and stuff, right?
I know. I have to send them. They get me to send them videos in Germany all the time that are on YouTube that are taken down.
Yeah, I get here. Yeah, but I get reported on Twitter. I get messages that I'm being reported on Twitter, and because it's Germans reporting me, I get a message from Twitter that says in German that the German law forces them to send me a message that I'm being reported. So I know it's a German doing it. But I know. So this is the same on YouTube. You can say fuck if you are in a country where fuck is allowed. You will still be monetized. Now, that is why we on ABB use this trick. We are on Dutch law right now. We are not on American law. created it from a Dutch location. We have Dutch law. You have a little difference in law, right? And if we got like some kind of a lawyer or some fat attacking us, they will come to the Dutch authorities. Just saying.
I have fun with that. I mean, but I mean, like, so basically, what you're saying to me is, if there's different laws based off of IPs, I could use my VPN and connect to any of these countries, and the laws that are in those countries would now apply to me, theoretically.
I don't know. I guess.
So if I use a VPN and I connect to a German server, right, and I log into Twitter, would I then start getting reports saying this person's reporting me?
On Twitter, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I watch PewDiePie. Like PewDiePie is unique in that sense. I like him for the stuff he does. He
did once say the N-word really loud. Well, while playing a game. I mean, he's cleaned up his act. I mean, he was young. I mean, that's the thing too. I mean, people with like cancel culture, they don't take into mind that the age of the person. I mean,
I just was focused on gamers. Yeah, it started out with just gaming.
Yeah, I remember he used to play the fucking broken video games. I remember that like very vividly.
The broken video games?
Yeah, he would play these like games that weren't like done real well, and he would just like, I don't know, he'd like end up in a wall or whatever, and he just keep on playing it.
Oh no, man! That's like all types of different games. Like old games have like all types of different glitches and everything. I mean, that was just fun as a kid. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm just very interested in this whole law difference between countries. I mean, because if you're using a VPN, technically, you're using an internet connection from another country. So, then do the laws apply to you? Is that how that works?
You would have to have a very persuasive lawyer to make that argument, but I'm not going to advocate somebody push it to the limit to try that. It would be interesting. I don't know if you could get away with it. You probably couldn't get away with it in a U.S. court. You might have to have a more open-minded, libertarian-minded justice system.
Well, I got Jay Lederman, so I mean,
What?
Well, it's not America anymore. See, we were that country years ago, but not anymore. So I don't think there's anywhere to run.
I mean, have you guys seen some of the stuff coming out of the Biden Congress and the Biden, like, I don't even know what Biden media, like, I guess like the Biden positive media, like they're saying that they want to create essentially a ministry of truth where they want to create a truth Caesar. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, did I really read that, New York Times?
I've got the quote here handy, as a matter of fact. Kevin Roos from the New York Times did a survey of experts, one of whom said that it's time for the Biden administration to set up a truth commission on misinformation. Several others said the president needed to appoint a reality czar. The muddled, chaotic information ecosystem that produces these misguided beliefs doesn't just jeopardize some lofty ideal of national unity, Bruce wrote in a Tuesday piece. It actively exacerbates our biggest national problems, equating the news they don't like to a national security threat. and creates more work for the people who truly are trying to solve them. And it raises an important question for the Biden administration. How do you unite a country in which millions of people have chosen to create their own version of reality? This is a news outlet, by the way, that told you that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction and that Vladimir Putin hacked our freedom in order to prevent Hillary Clinton from naturally assuming the presidency of the United States.
Well, I
make
mean,
that
she's
perfectly
Queen
clear.
Hillary. Come on.
Well, it's called propaganda. They're not a news organization. They're a ministry of propaganda. Part of the ministry.
And calling for a ministry of truth openly calling for a ministry. This is on the same day that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez releases an email to her supporters saying monitor social media and mass snitch on people and report them and have them removed if they are saying things that you don't want to hear.
Is that kind of like Mad Maxine telling them to attack Republicans anywhere they find them?
You didn't think it was just about stolen elections. I mean, if they'll do that, what's to keep him from going full dictator like he is now? I mean, sky's the limit, guys.
No, we've been telling people that. Yeah, we've been telling people to be ready so you don't have to get ready for quite a while now, and letting people know that this was going to happen. I mean, the reason that we keep having Whitney Webb on the show is because she's been consistently accurate about all of this, and it's pretty easy to put it all together just by reading the DHS memos and the stuff that's coming out of the ODNI that we're allowed to see.
Well, I mean, so I'm actually now working on a big piece on how Biden is going to expand the police state as we speak. I've been kind of working on it all day because I haven't seen anybody do it, and I'm seeing all this stuff come out, and I'm just like, holy shit! Like this guy is going to be a bigger tyrant than Trump ever was.
100%.
And the thing is, he's pushing for domestic terrorism laws that he previously pushed for years ago while he was a senator. And, he claimed responsibility and said that he was responsible for the Patriot Act, right? That was
he wrote the Omnibus Counterterrorism Act of bill in 1995, yeah.
Right, yeah.
And bragged that it was the precursor forerunner to the Patriot Act.
Yeah, he did a lot more. I don't want to get into everything that I'm writing about, but not right now. But basically, there's a lot of different proposals and everything coming through. They want to create a new agency. This is coming through Congress, bipartisan from the Democrats and Republicans. They want to create a new agency where companies, blogs, everything, they have to monitor their users, and any suspicious comments they have to log. And I'm like, holy fuck! Like they want to expand the surveillance state way worse than it's been. Like, this is insane. And suspicious comments is not defined. It's very open. It's very broad. And it says anything criminal behavior. Well, what do you mean? Anything criminal behavior.
So premeditation is a crime now, right?
Right. That's like completely against the way the laws are written. You can't just...
The Department of Justice has a pre-crime division now.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That was one of Bill Barr's crowning achievements.
That's ridiculous. And then there'll be thought crimes as well next, right?
No, they have
crimes.
Yeah, no. Tyler, they have military. Okay, so I don't know if I should say this or not. I don't know if this is even public knowledge. They have military working on pre-thought crime technology where it can predict social media posts whether somebody's going to commit a crime or not.
I want to say
I
Chicago it was already doing that. I'm going to look up an article. This is like 3 or 4 years ago. Chicago decided to do this and started going after
right.
people.
Yeah. Chicago did it. Florida did it as well. But this is actual like U.S. military. This is military.
Yeah.
What's it's not even a well-known agency. It's like a social media agency that was created under Trump. See, everybody thinks Trump is such a good not everybody, but I mean, all the people on the right think that Trump is such a good president, this and that, and he created all of these different new agencies that people are unaware of. Like he created an agency specifically that can hack any American at any period of time if they have suspicion of what was it called? Probable cause. The suspicions of probable cause. They can hack anyone at any time. Yeah, I mean it's well known. He also created a social media agency. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but they are involved with this technology where basically it's a building AI thought crime technology where they can scan social media and look for posts that are suspicious, quote unquote suspicious, that where people are going to they think that someone's going to commit a crime, and then try to stop the crime. And this actually agency was actually created after the shooting in New Zealand, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Yeah. Everything's an excuse with these people to clamp down on you. It's just like, oh my, look what they done. Oh, look at these slaves that are running around, running their mouths. We can't have that. That's free speech. We can't, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is the kind of talk you hear now. I mean, these people are mentally ill, man. There's just no other way to come to any other conclusion. They're whacked out. It's all about their speech and nobody else's. And I mean, it keeps happening.
It's
law, it's just like whatever.
What people don't go ahead.
I was saying, I mean, it's cult-like behavior. We were in. I'm not trying to specifically pick on AOC. It's just she has recently shown her whole ass to the entire country, and it's got a tattoo of Mussolini on it. Like it sucks, man. Not that I ever had any hope in this chick in the first place. It used to get yelled at for telling people that she was a politician and she was there to inherit Nancy Pelosi's power, not to take it away from her. People used to get mad at me for that. They're starting to come around to agree with me on it. But she put out a bunch of tweets the other day, and the language in them was identical to what you hear people who have left cults say. This is how I was spoken to in order to get me in. This is how I was treated. This is what people said to me. And she's using this exact language in her tweets and on her Instagram. And I mean, at this point, she's an influencer on social media with the perceived ability to wield power in the state. And that's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, some of her, like she was also talking about having a ministry of truth. I remember seeing that not too long ago. So, I mean, this is the mindset that we have coming into this presidency is that they want to create a ministry of truth, and they want to be able to control journalism and who can be a journalist and who can't, and that goes against the foundations of the U.S. in general. I mean, you don't have to have any type of credentials to be a journalist. I mean, you can just pick up a video camera and go out there and do your thing. I mean, or you can just write. I mean, if you're detailing information, I mean, that's journalism. I mean, if you're trying to tell a story, that's journalism. Trying to tell somebody's story that's suppressed, that's journalism. And they want to take that away, and they want to put us into a box where the only media that we have is from the establishment, and that's very fucking dangerous. And going back to, again, the church committee, I mean, we already know that's dangerous. Like the CIA manipulated the media in the 1960s, 70s, and it
from
went on.
45 on.
Yeah.
There's a fantastic book by a guy named Joel Whitney called Finks, and the subtitle is How the CIA Tricked the World's Best Journalists. And even the author admits that tricked is not the right word, but he couldn't fit, coerced, bribed, and otherwise bought the world's best journalists. And it opens in, I think, 1946, the book does. And it just sort of walks you through the CIA's total ownership of broad swaths of not just European media, but U.S. media, Canadian media, media in the global South. It's a good read. I recommend it. Very, very well sourced and researched.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting books. I can't remember any off the top of my head. I've read a lot of different things over the years. Jesse Ventura, whatever his book is, he has a few really, really good, interesting books about like censored information. And I mean, I'd never even heard of Operation Towpot or Teapot. I forget what it was.
Teapot.
Until one of my sources said to read Jesse Ventura's book and said that essentially that was the first attempt to overthrow the United States government by business people, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things. I mean, like, the whole thing with the FDR, when they tried to overthrow FDR under the business.
Oh, yeah. No, Teapot was a nuclear program. I can't. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name.
I think it's I literally think it's Operation Teapot. I'm pretty sure.
It is Operation Teapot, but that is 14 nuclear test explosions in Nevada test site.
No, I think it's Teapot. I think it's TAI pot. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Okay. Talpiot.
Yeah. That's something like that. Yeah.
That's the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces.
That's not it either. I guess okay. So I'm just misremembering things, man. I don't know. I have a lot of information in my head, and sometimes things get mixed up when I'm talking about something because I know too much information, and it just it gets twisted. But there's some operation where they tried to overthrow the U.S. years ago. That was before the business plot, and it
installed Smedley Butler, right?
That's the business plot. That's
okay.
Yeah, that's the business plot.
You have a hater in the chat, by the way, AK, a total hater.
What's he saying?
Sorry, guys. I was just having. I was a little distracted. I will jump in more. TAC. Yeah, no. The people in the chat are so always so busy. Like so many things. They're mentioning Mockingbird, by the way, the media thingy.
Yeah, that goes back to the church hearing committee.
Yeah. Also about Mockingbird, it's like officially that's like around that time that it was like in the 60s, right? They say, but of course Mockingbird was already active during World War II, when the U.S. government utilized media just like the English used the British broadcasting BBC for propaganda. You could argue that they never left, right? And
they also used it in a Cold War, like against Russia, and
of course.
Yeah, they continued Mockingbird. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head.
I don't have to give it an official project name for it to exist, right? I mean, it gets officialized with a project name, but of course before that already things are happening. Like The same as with supposed new weapons or new inventions that DARPA already has them like 30 years before that. Like, talk about the invisibility suit. I saw it actually being used in Iraq. The invisibility suit. It is 30 years old. That invention was 30 years before Iraq was invented already.
Well, they were okay. So, as far as the invisibility suit goes, they were using the invisibility suit in Iraq, testing it. And there's a video that leaked where a soldier is seen climbing
a tank video. They walks away from a tank, and you see him being invisible.
Yeah. The whole technology now it has fully come out, and they're acknowledging that it exists and everything. And that was last year. And they also say now that they can make a tank or a helicopter or a jet fully invisible, and it uses the same technology. So they're acknowledging that they have this technology now. When they're doing that, that means that they're ready to use it out in the open, and they have something that's a lot more powerful. Because they don't disclose that type of technology until they have built something with it.
Didn't Trump say something like that? The invisible F-16 jets.
Maybe he might have. I mean, he let a lot of national security information out.
But I think it was a joke because you could see the F-16 in the shot next to him.
I mean, you had.
The visibility suit is very simple, by the way, right? I mean, it's not difficult at all.
It's really not new. It's really not new technology. No, I mean that's been around for I think at least 5 or 6 years now.
No, you can actually make it. You just project what's behind a person on front of a person. So you have them wear a suit that has like these small screens where you project an image of, and you have on the back you have the high quality cameras actually collecting that image, right, and then displaying it on front. So you make a person see through, so to speak. It's not that hard. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You have maybe a few hundred little cameras and a few hundred little projectors. You project just what is behind the soldier on front, and then up to like a distance of maybe 30 feet or something. If you get closer than that, you'll see the person, of course. But if you are further away than that, it will be invisible to you because you will just see what is behind the person.
Yeah, it's going full, the infrared cams. Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. Kind of.
Well, it works on like mapping of satellite images and stuff. If it's not infrared. Map an area, and you can make a whole group of a whole army group invisible if you have enough money, at least to do it, because I think it's very expensive. But
well, okay, so it uses reflective type of technology, and it essentially allows. It's really fucking hard to explain, but basically,
light bending. That's another technology. Yeah. I think that's like light bending. It's like
yep.
It stops the light from returning to you or whatever, so that you become invisible too. Because something is only visible when the light shines on it, right? So if you can stop the light from returning, it is invisible.
Yeah, but somehow I'm not sure how it works, but somehow you can literally see through it. I don't understand it either myself, but it makes you invisible and you can see through it using this type of technology. I don't fully understand it. I've just kind of seen it.
Okay, the projector thing that I know exists, and I've seen it. The prototype is being tested. There are YouTube videos, etc., too, of that. That thing is actually similar to what you see in this old movie Predator, right?
Right.
That is what you see, and that's why I said this technology was already prototyped 30 years before, because Predator is a movie from the early 80s, and the Iraq War was 2004, if I'm correct, so that's 24 years.
Yeah, I think that they had the invisible cloak technology going all the way back to Desert Storm, to be honest, because there's some interesting rumors about that. things that happen in Desert Storm.
Yeah.
So I personally think that they had that technology going back to Desert Storm, and it wouldn't surprise me with the military being so far advanced as they are. I mean, like they had the TR-3B back in the 90s, and that's a achievement to be able to have a plane like that can fly basically as a mothership for jets and fighter jets and drones and all of that. I mean, I'm pretty sure they had drones back then too, because in the 1960s there was a plot northwards where they discussed using drones to fly it into cities in Florida and blame Cuba.
They had drones they had drones in World War II, all the Bose bombs, and people forget about that one. But
that's a good point. Yeah. It's just that the drone technology is more advanced today than it was back then. I mean, now they have swarm drones. That's the new thing that the military's been working on with the DoD and DARPA is swarm drones. And years ago, they leaked it. They were talking about it, and it leaked out of a conference, and they started deleting videos online of it. But basically, swarm drones are these tiny little drones that can fly into under a door and swarm a room of somebody inside the room, and essentially they attack like the person inside, and it's like they say it's non-lethal, but obviously it is lethal. I mean, but yeah,
it's non-lethal to the guy launching the drone. Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was really interesting. You can look up swarm drones, and you can find some things on it. Some things are a little buried. But if you use archive.org and start digging around that way, I mean, you'll find some information on it. But swarm drones, and these at first they were a concept at some conference, and then they actually ended up developing them. After showcasing the idea of being able to kill somebody essentially without, using bombs and having casualties of other people, because we don't want innocent casualties, right? U.S. military.
Are you talking about the ones that deliver like the 3-grain charge right to the forehead?
No, but that's probably something else. No, these are like little tiny, they're like insect drones, and there's like hundreds of them. And they're insect drones. They fly under a door, or can fly under a door. They can fly in windows or whatever. And essentially they swarm the person, and neutralize the threat. Well, that's what they say. Neutralize the threat.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about now.
Now, they do have the ones that you're talking about also, where they kind of spin over and then do that shaped charge into your forehead. I mean, that's real. But where I've seen a lot of it used here lately now in the bigger drones, where they're doing the Turks and some of their proxies are using that, like in Syria, Nagorno-Karabakh war. There was a lot of that going. That's becoming more of a military tactic as well.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they actually used the swarm drones years ago. There was a cop. I can't remember his name. There was a cop that had taken a hostage or something, or he was shooting at people from a building, and they couldn't get to him, and they actually used the swarm drones. It was like a couple years ago.
They had that one, what was it, Maduro? Somebody was flying some drones there that blew up nearby them. They didn't get close enough, but maybe a year and a half.
Oh, that was
2 years.
Yeah, that was that was like 2015, I think.
Wasn't a swarm, but homemade looked like.
Yeah. I mean, the other advanced technology that the U.S. has and they don't want to talk about is the rods of God. And Rick was it Rick Tillerson? That was he was the state, the SOS. Who was the defense secretary under Trump? And not Mark Esper, but the other guy.
Pompeo?
No, that wasn't. That was Secretary of State.
Uh,
I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Who the fuck was it? It was a general. General.
Oh, Mattis?
Yeah, Jim Mattis. Thanks. Yeah, he said
Mad
during
Dog?
Yeah. He said during a press conference, he let it slip. He said that the U.S. would use a secret weapon. Essentially, said the U.S. would use a secret weapon against North Korea, and the reporter just happened to say direct energy weapon or something like that, and he basically like a Freudian slipped it, and said that essentially that's what they were going to use. I thought it was really interesting. I don't remember the full context of the whole entire conversation, but after that warning, right? They actually did have explosions that happened in North Korea, and I swear to you that they used the rods of God. And for our listeners who don't know, the rods of God are essentially metallic rods in space, or they're tungsten rods in space. What's up?
Tungsten.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Well, even if I butchered the name, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, they're rods in space that drop down, and with inertia, they cause basically a giant crater and an earthquake effect. And that's what happened in North Korea. Is right there near the nuclear site, they had a earthquake that happened, and they said it was an explosion and everything. And yeah, I think it was the U.S. doing that. The U.S. has a lot of advanced weaponry that they don't showcase.
No, they don't. I live fairly close to a Lockheed Martin facility.
Oh, say no more. You better not say anything more.
Yeah.
Oh, he saw something. Watch out.
Number of employees that live in the community here. Kind of fun to let them get drunk. That's about the extent of what I'm willing to say on the air. But yeah, it got stories.
I mean, Terrence would tell us stories. You're not brave enough, huh?
Oh, I will. I just don't know if I can tell them on the air.
Oh, we're governed by the Dutch law.
Oh,
Yeah, try using that one in court, buddy.
but yeah,
If we're not, then we have our own, so we're always good.
Yeah, right.
They'll come to me. There's no William Barr here or Alexandria Cortez, but don't worry.
the light refracting or whatever it is technology that makes for what we see as invisibility, that capability is going onto the micro drones and has been for a handful of years now, to where they can sort of vanish.
Visually, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
That makes
a
sense.
lot of military technology uses infrared cams for targeting systems. So.
And that makes sense, to be honest. I mean, because not even just micro drones, but also regular drones. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they've been using that technology on normal drones, because I've seen videos of drones just disappearing. And I know they're not going that. I know they're fast, but I mean, they're not going that fast to where they vanish. You know what I mean?
Hmm. No, this is like you see it, and it can sort of, I don't know, like flutter, but you only see it for like a half a second, and then it's just gone. It's blended in with the background. But at least for when I got talked to about them, as far as the person knew, they were only for surveillance capabilities. At that time, they weren't for like they weren't a weapons delivery system yet. But it's been a couple of years.
Yeah,
So,
I just pulled up my article on all this stuff on invisibility. The U.S. military has now admitted artificial skin to make troops invisible. And I thought it was really interesting that they want to make artificial skin to make troops invisible now. So this whole thing about invisibility, it actually goes back to South Korea. Years ago, a researcher, Song Hwam, he actually detailed the cloaking technology and said that he could make elastic patches that utilized heat and cooling to mimic visible colors and thermal characteristics of the environment. So, yeah, like this is old stuff.
Well, that's that's the thing. I think somebody said it earlier too. I mean, by the time that the general public or even people who um, get tipped off a little bit ahead of time find out about military technology, it's been around for 10, 20, 30 years. The stuff that like uh, the stuff that Elon Musk is trying to sell, but Neuralink, that technology where you can connect your brain with a computer.
Right.
That's they were trying to figure that out and working on it in like the 40s, really 50s. You know,
yeah, I think I think it goes back that far too myself, to be honest.
I remember I remember this is maybe different. I remember the Russians crossbreed, attempting to crossbreed humans with apes to make super soldiers.
Yep.
Yeah, this is what really happened. Not even kidding. They tried to crossbreed them with apes to make like, but it failed, of course. And they tried to make remote control soldiers too. Like, if you look into all this crazy stuff these people did.
The Russians and the CIA, or the KGB and the CIA, both did experiments where they tried to create remote soldiers using electrodes and also brainwashing people and all types of different techniques that they used. I mean, they would drug people with fucking LSD and try to brainwash them into being a mindless soldier. Like that's the type of stuff that they would do. And I mean, we know all the MK Ultra stuff, right? That's only scratching the surface. Like they were doing experiments like that back in the OSI. And I mean, for the U.S. side of things, right? I imagine that the Soviets were also doing the same. Like, it's a no-brainer that both governments were at the time doing the same shit. But the U.S. side of the OSI, they were experimenting with electrodes on people's brains and essentially trying to do various different like experiments with mind control and trying to do like voice to skull technology where they repeat something constantly in somebody's head to brainwash them into doing something, or they did all types of different experiments.
Yeah, that is also the whole Charles Manson story, right? With the LSD brainwashing. There's like a book about that too. Someone made a whole book about that. Like a conspiracy surrounding Charles Manson, and that he was let free a little too much. Like he was allowed to walk free and do his LSD experiments with people. Like MK Ultra.
He was connected to CIA. Like there's documents that came out. When the fuck was that? We talked about that on the show like a while ago, a long time ago. But we talked about that on the show. There was documents that came out where it showed that he was connected to the CIA.
This is the whole Laurel Canyon thing, right?
What? Say that again?
The whole Laurel Canyon thing. Like Manson was a part of that too. He comes out of that. Where influential musicians and like people who were at the center of the counterculture were
Neil Young
working in tandem with the CIA.
Yeah, you're right. It was the Laurel Canyon music scene. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, I didn't know that information. I just knew, like, I don't know.
It's fascinating, man. I'll send you some stuff over the next couple of days. There's some incredible books, the documentary or two that are really good.
Yeah, he was at some point he was like a musician.
Did not know that. I did not know that at all, to be honest.
He wanted to be famous.
Really bad.
Okay, I'll repeat it. No, I was saying, Charles Manson at some point he wanted to be a famous musician, and he tried to be. And I was mentioning Neil Young because he was from the same area. That's that Laurel Canyon thing. That Steve said.
The Beach Boys told him to go fuck off. They thought he was a horrible musician.
I wonder if that's why.
Have you ever heard any of Charlie's recordings?
Yeah, I've listened to all of it. He's not that good. He thinks he is. He's not
terrible.
I wonder if that's why Marilyn Manson named himself Marilyn Manson as a stage name.
I don't know. I listened to his. I guess like.
It was what? Celebrity Deaths and Serial Killers, right? The whole band.
What?
Wasn't that their thing? Like they took a name of a famous celebrity who died young and then took the name of a serial killer for their last name.
Marilyn Manson? Yeah, it kind of seems like it. It's creepy though because
it used to be Manson and the Spooky Kids. It wasn't always like Marilyn Manson. And then I remember it was Manson and the Spooky Kids. I just like pre-1998. I just don't remember. Well, I was to the metal scene to like really follow like Manson because that was all popular at the time.
In the chat, I see Rose Garden says, "Didn't he write for the Beatles?" Well, the Beatles has this number Helter Skelter, right? And it is Helter Skelter is also what Charles Manson wrote about, like a big race war and things. Maybe you mean that?
Yeah, Manson thought that Helter Skelter was the race war and that the White Album was instructions on how to initiate it.
Again, he was experimented on by the CIA, so that might explain why he's so crazy.
Mysteries has awkward pauses and not the sleepy Josh types, like they are computing. Yeah, it might be all bots. We don't know. I couldn't tell you. Don't that in our AI.
The awkward pauses because we're lagging and we're not sure. Like, there's a bit of a lag between speaking. So I mean, we're not trying to speak over each other. So yeah, Like that's why there's awkward pauses here and there.
Yeah, we do have lags. I'm literally on the other side of the world on most of the people here, so we have to wait a little with that. Always a few seconds. We don't want to talk over each other.
Unless you want to hear us talk over each other, then that'll be your ears, not mine.
No, it becomes fucked up. That's the thing.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, but
we don't need to do that because we have like enough time always, like on these shows.
Yeah, it's true.
Not tonight. I gotta go in about 15 minutes, and I'm streaming. Shit.
What's the mood in Netherlands? Yeah, people aren't so happy right now.
Well, what other topics do we have to get to?
Well, I don't know. This is personal. I wanted to end the whole fucking science behind the whole oxidized epinephrine. I can say it at that without getting the fucking YouTube algorithm on me. The whole Q conspiracy, but yeah.
What's the? I have no idea what you're talking about. Like,
okay, so I got into 3 arguments with 3 3 different retards this week. On different
the R word.
Sorry, all right, 3 not intelligent people. There you go. And they weren't exact. Some of them were Qs and one wasn't. And they were trying to claim that using some sort of fucking 8chan post that some guy had his hands on, he had seized 22 kilograms of adrenochrome and it was worth $144 billion. And I just said, I had to like say something. And I was like, dude, like, you're so stupid. Okay, it's just oxidized epinephrine. It can be made.
I have so many questions.
Yeah, even Alexander Shlugan doubted, the godfather of MDMA, or rest in peace, but had his doubts about it. He even, I believe, in Pickle, in the phenethylamine love story, he did it. It had no CNS effect. The only thing that's ever been reported, right, because it is oxidized epinephrine, is slight stimulation. Now there was a lot of research into its correlation between that and schizophrenia, and honestly the only one that has ever pervaded this stupid lie is Hunter S. Thompson. And now Hunter S. Thompson, in Fear and Loathing, in the book, he might have either fibbed it or was given some sort of tryptamine, psychedelic tryptamine analog. Now, orally, I've read the bioavailability of adrenochrome, which is just oxidized epinephrine, and trust me, you don't need to cut somebody's head open to get this. You can make this fairly easy with shit you got the fucking pharmacy.
No, do not give advice on how to make this.
Okay, but I'm just saying this could be made very cheaply. Yeah.
What was the price tag on that?
Like 144 million or something.
144 million.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and they were claiming that I think this was taken from dead children, and I've talked this a few times. Like maybe they're mixing up adrenochrome with DMT, which would be the only thing in your brain that could, and it's not even like the DMT in the brain is so negligible. It's like we're talking nanograms. It would never be a usable amount. So like cutting somebody's head open for some psychedelic drug is like the most retarded fucking idea. Like,
yeah, but wasn't the claim that it comes from the pineal gland? And
yes, but we're not. We're not talking usable amounts. We're talking. Go ahead.
You're not wrong, But the thing is, it doesn't matter if we believe it. It matters if they believe it. And like that's where the rubber meets the road. Like if there are really people that believe that they're doing this, that tells me two things: that these are people without morals or scruples, and that karmically they deserve a bootleg placebo adrenochrome market.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, see, there's one thing people have to. There's one danger in this, right? We know that there are these elites and these horrible groups of people, these occult people, who do a lot of disgusting shit. And these human traffickers, they do a lot of disgusting shit. But there is a lot of shit about that we can actually prove. We don't have to invent new things that they're doing. Like, okay, so they're trafficking children, but they're also reptiles, right? We don't have to say the reptile part. We know they're trafficking children. That's the
Well, that's what the limited hangout does, though, right?
Well,
that's the function of the limited hangout.
I just wanted to say because Tyler said about Hunter Thompson.
He's made stuff up. He made stuff up all the time. Like either he was confused or he made it up.
Yeah, I agree with you, but there's also a lot of cults. Like if you look at, if you actually dig into the like cultish history and everything, there's a lot of cults that actually believe that too. That cutting off the head and then drinking from a chalice, that they would get some type of power from the victim. Like that's not only Hunter Thompson. It also goes into cult history. And there's a book on cults. I just can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it says like a lot of different cults like believe this type of stuff. Satanic cults, like real satanic cults, not like the Satanist church. Actual cults that committed murders and everything.
See, that's the thing. Is like I've only read, like I was saying in the other show, like I've only come across literature once in an obscure book written about 100 years ago that even mentioned anything like that. Other than that, like it's hard to find any satanic cult like killings. It's really, really hard. I've done research.
It's not that, like, if you look into like the stuff that Ted Gunderson was like, he documented a lot of satanic cults across the U.S. When he was alive, and looking into all this stuff, like from the McDonald case to there was another case of cultish activity, and I believe it was I think it was Texas, I believe, where he found cultish activity. But the thing is, like, there's cultish activity all across the U.S., and he documented a lot of it. And I'm not saying all the cults believe that or did that or anything like that. A lot of them, it was animal sacrifices.
That would be in the normal realm. But I mean, just like, sacrificing children, and it's hard to find any documentation on it.
I don't know specifically children. I know that this is basically considered sacrifice. I know that the elites, they do a lot of snuff film type stuff, where they view essentially human pain and suffering as entertainment, and I'm not saying
I could believe.
Yeah, it goes back to the gladiator times, where they used to do that as well, and they would like pit people against each other. But I mean, these if you look up the Conspiracy of Silence, and you look into Paul Benassi and everything that he said, that guy's telling the truth of everything. Everything that he says, he's telling the truth, and it's proven by the fact that he had told Noreen Gosh about Johnny Gosh, and basically said a scar that was on his body, exactly where it was, to Noreen. And then years later, he had Noreen meet up with Johnny Gosh one night. So he was proven. And Paul Benassi, he says a lot of fucked up shit. And he's just crying there in the office of John DeCamp at the time. And that's another thing, too. John DeCamp, who was a former senator, he was investigating all these cultish activities, too. So, I mean, there are cults. They do kill people. They do, the elites do kill people for snuff films and stuff like that. As far as the adrenochrome stuff goes, I mean, I've seen it. I don't know if I believe it, but I've seen it in cults talking about it, where they would, discuss cutting off somebody's head and drinking the blood from a chalice. I've seen that.
But you wouldn't get a psychedelic effect from.
I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't done it. I'm not going to do it. But I'm just saying, like, I have seen it. I just wanted to clarify that I have seen it in history in cult activity. So it's not just Hunter Thompson who said that. I think that he got that from the cultish activity that was going on. I think the cult movements were going on around the same time that he was around writing, right? In the 70s and 80s.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he was security at the Esalen Resort in the early to mid 60s, which was it's in Big Sur. It still to this day pretty notorious for like sort of a playground for the predator class, and some really shady shit went down there in the 60s with not necessarily children, but like younger teenage girls, shit like that.
That's bad.
I love that definition, by the way, the predator class.
Pardon?
I love that definition, by the way, the predator class. This is like that's
well, yeah, I
exactly how
really
you call them.
You get kind of. I don't like to call them the elite because they're not like elite individuals. They're fucking scumbags that have got by on inherited wealth and bloodline and the exploitation of other human beings. They're the predator class. They're preying on me and my friends and people that I don't know but I still love every single day.
Yeah, and so about people getting effects from like adrenochrome and stuff. Yeah, you remember you can also get effects from being heavily involved in this deep occult religious stuff and having like psychosomatic effects, right? Your leader says like you're tripping now, you're getting psychosomatic effects. It can be just as real effects. You're saying.
Well, they also, these cults, they do a lot of sleep deprivation. And sleep deprivation, if you have enough sleep deprivation mixed with drugs, I mean, you can get any type of effect from it. And many times these cults are mixing drugs and mixing sleep deprivation as well. And they believe, essentially, if they deprive themselves of sleep, not all of them, but some of them believe that if they deprive themselves of sleep, it helps to get to the other side, like to have a connection to the other side. Like I don't know how these people think that. I don't know if it has something to do with like letting your brain, like because DMT, when you go to sleep, DMT releases in your brain. So if you deprive yourself of sleep, maybe they believe that DMT there's less DMT in your body. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just trying to reason with psychopaths. Awkward silence.
Yeah. I don't know what to do. Because I gotta go. I don't know, Mark. Can you take over streaming on another show?
Yeah, You mean right after this, or you mean like tomorrow or something?
Oh, right after this, like if you guys want to keep on going.
Yeah, it's fine with me. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter. There's more stuff to discuss. Yeah.
There's a lot of different news that we didn't even get into because we just got distracted and went off on other topics. There's the whole thing with Parler, and I thought that was interesting. I mean, what's your comment on that, like Tyler? What do you think about the Mercers kicking John Matsey out of his own?
So I heard John Matsey tried to go against QAnon or get QAnon off the platform, and he was presented with a letter of termination or separation from the company because I guess he was part co-owner, and I guess the other CEOs voted him out.
Wait, what? For going after Q?
Yeah, for trying to take QAnon off the platform.
Well, that's like 80% of their platform.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Significant portion of Parler.
Oh man, that's bad. That is bad. That's bad.
I'll tell you what else. Hey, they're the biggest trending channels on BitChute now. It's fucking ridiculous. Yeah. You know, like most channels, you're lucky to get 5,000 views. These guys are getting 50,000, 100,000 plus. I mean, people are just eating up this Q shit.
The Q like grifter ecosystem has flourished since January 6th, and you would think that it would be the opposite, but there's a whole new just griftoverse of people who are running with a handful of different like Q-based narratives, and people are just eating it up. It's
I heard Biden is a robot, and Trump is actually controlling him. What the fuck?
Well, somebody is, but it ain't Trump. I mean, these people are such cowards, and they're so foolish that they're actually believing all this feel-good shit from guys like Robert David Steele and who's this Charlie Ward. I mean, these guys are total hacks, and yet people are just eating that crap up, man. They want to hear something good, like something's going on, and they're not really getting fucked. But the problem is they really are getting fucked, and they just don't want to own up to it. You know, that's the problem.
I saw a guy, and I watched his video. I don't remember who the fuck it was. He's an old guy, but he was talking about how his sources has said that the Q's plan was going to go down after January 20th, and this guy's like saying that he's met with Q, and I was like, oh my god, I'm like, fuck me. And this guy had like fucking 100,000 views, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, AK, just start putting out some Q crap, dude, and you're going to get 10 to 100,000 times more people than you got watching you now, man. I mean, you'll get a little herd of wildebeest behind you, man, of just this crowd of just who knows what direction they're gonna, when they get scared, which direction they're going either. I mean, you don't know,
Maybe I should just drop all the files that I dropped years ago again.
Hey, okay, guys, I think Tyler has to go. Like, we could take like a 15 minutes break, and then we push a part 2 out.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Tyler? Or?
Yeah, it's fine. I'll just roll the exit credits, and then I'll just get off.
All right, the part 1 anonymous PSA. Make sure you spay and neuter all politicians. Priority 1.
Lobbyist.
Alright.
Declare this to be
Sorry guys, I gotta go, but I have to take care of the guys.
Oh good, bro. Yeah, have a good night.
Alright.
You don't have to wait 15 minutes though. Why don't you just spin it up, or you getting the coffee, or what are you doing?
I order all those assembled to immediately disperse.
Oh.